let us recognize that this is just a small step on a long journey, but it does show what just a little incentive can do in terms of changing lives and adding meaning to what we all do. So it is a great day, and it was Henry David Thoreau who said, it's not what you're looking at, it's what you see that counts. You know, and that's why vision is so important. That's why it's written that without vision the people perish, and I think all of us have come together today to celebrate a collective vision, and that's not what is, but what can be. And we're excited about that because real reform comes through education. I think that's what all of us could agree to because that's what brought all of us here. So Dr. Dassinger, thank you for your leadership in bringing about much needed reform, and we recognize this is just a step. But we also recognize the importance of change. We recognize the importance of recognizing that without change, progress will not occur. And it reminds me of that comment I know most of you have heard before that Einstein said, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again while expecting different results. That just doesn't happen. And I don't believe there ever is great progress without great leadership. And our first speaker is the model of what all of us would label as servant leadership. And I've watched this gentleman for a long time, and I believe what's written in the book of Matthew is manifest in the way he does his business because he focuses on the people, where it's written, I came to serve and not to be served. That's why I'm honored this morning to ask our Governor, Robert Bentley, to come forward. Doctor?
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank Dr. Hawkins for allowing me to stand. It's good to be here at this facility, and this is good news. You know, last year we've made some progress here in this facility. It still is an old facility, and we have a long way to go, but we've made a lot of progress. We've got new leadership, and thank you, and Jeff Dunn, thank you for what you're doing. So we've got new leadership here in this facility. We also know that one of the most important things that we can do is to look at our overall correctional system. And we've been doing that in the last year or so. And I especially want to thank Senator Cam Ward, who's with us here today, Representative Mike Jones on the House side, but really Senator Cam Ward really spearheaded our Prison Reform Act that we just passed, and he did such a fantastic job there. And so we're making good progress. We've got a long way to go, but you know, Alabama, the overcrowding in our state is so great, but if we have some ideas. I've met just recently with Commissioner Dunn, and we've got some new ideas about what we want to do for the prison system in Alabama. Our legislation that just passed looks at people on the front end so that the minor offenses would not even be put in prison, but they would be given the abilities to maybe do other things on a community basis. And so once someone is in prison, we need to do what the naming of our system says. It's a Department of Corrections. So we need to try to help them prepare for life outside of the system. And if we do that, then coming back will be less likely. And that ought to be our goal. Recidivism decrease ought to be our goal. And so that's what we're trying to do here. You know, so many people in prison really don't have the education skills. They don't have a skill to get out and get a job and once they're released. And so what we're trying to do here, and I want to thank y'all for doing this, because this will make a difference in the lives of the people that are affected, the lives of the people that are here once they get out, because they need to get a job. They need to get out and have the ability to do that. and we need to help them. It ought to be a Department of Corrections, and we ought to put more money and more emphasis, especially on education, because that's what's going to change their lives, and it's going to help them get out, get a job, and reacclimate to society, so that they would not be coming back to the same location that we have here. Dr. Dassinger, thank you, and Dr. Hawkins, I want to thank you, and I especially want to thank my good friend and my banking commissioner, John Harrison. He's one of the finest men in the world, and he has done such a great job in trying to raise money on this project. And so, John, thank you for what you do. So we're glad to be here today. I'm glad to be a part of this. And for you ladies who are working now and trying to, y'all are advisors, okay? And so we want to thank you for what y'all are doing. And everyone that's involved in this, I think it's a very worthwhile project. And it still all boils down to one thing, and that's helping people. Everything should come down to helping people. And so when we change people's lives, we change Alabama and we change America. And so that's what we need to be trying to do. So thank y'all, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. God bless you.
Good morning. Good morning. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be with you this morning. And Governor, I want to personally thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here. It means a great deal to each and every one of us. I think it shows the emphasis that you place on what we're doing here. So thank you for your presence. I'd also like to express appreciation to Dr. Hawkins and the Ingram College Foundation, and especially Mr. John Harrison, who we've been recognized just a moment ago for his leadership in the fundraising efforts that make the center that you're going to see shortly a reality. It's a lot of work, but it's going to pay dividends, so thank you for that. Tight state and federal budgets, as we're all well aware, make the role of nonprofit foundations that much more important. And the fact that really the entire community college system is increasingly dependent on foundations as we attempt to meet many of the needs across our great state. And so certainly having these great people support us is fabulous. I'd like to digress for just a moment, if you'll allow me. I'm not sure why I said that, because you don't have any choice, do you? Anyhow, I'm going to digress for 2 minutes, and I promise I won't take any more time than that. But this is about a 12-year personal experience that I had. Nearly 30 years ago, it scares me to say that, I served as a staff psychologist for a 144-bed prison in Tennessee. And I was responsible to evaluate and make recommendations about both treatment and education for everyone who was committed to this particular state prison. Since I was also teaching at a local university, I took the opportunity to collect data, anonymously, but nonetheless collect data, just to get an idea of what we were seeing, what we were finding. And some of the program results were just absolutely astonishing and were published, and that's for another time. But one finding that I'd like to talk about will come as no surprise, and the data spoke very, very strongly to recidivism, which you heard the governor talk about in just a moment. And those data were consistent with what the literature was saying. And here's what we found. Those who received appropriate treatment and learned a marketable living wage skill, with emphasis on living wage, had a recidivism rate of about 30 to 35%. That still sounds like a lot, but hold that number for a moment. Those who were released without necessary treatment or without a marketable skill had a recidivism rate as high as 85%. So you got to wrap your brain around those two numbers. And I think as staggering as those numbers are, appropriate treatment and education is the answer. So while this e-learning center that you're going to see in just a moment is relatively small in terms of ribbon-cutting ceremonies, it is huge in terms of its potential for this state. It represents a commitment by this college and the larger community college system to correctional education and the role education can and should play and helping state address prison overcrowding and prison education. This e-learning center is also symbolic of a relatively new way of thinking about correctional education, and that's important. It recognizes that in order to really affect change in the lives of inmates, in order to help them as our students, help them develop into responsible citizens, we must leverage every device and tool we have. And technology is one of those tools, is one of those resources. And regardless of what you think, technology is very cost effective. So therefore, in conjunction with the launch of this e-learning center, I'm also proud to announce that we will leverage technology to extend the reach and enhance the programming of correctional education across our state. And in a moment when we go next door to the e-learning center, you'll be able to see some of the technology on display and why it's so powerful. In cooperation with our partners in education and the Department of Corrections, we will phase in this effort beginning here at Tutwiler and then evaluate its success for implementation more broadly across correctional facilities statewide. And this is all very exciting. And so really today, at this particular moment, I've got to be very honest, I only feel gratitude about what we're celebrating here today. Many of the leaders here have already been recognized, but I certainly feel gratitude toward our lawmakers and all of the professionals across the entire spectrum of corrections and prison education. And I want to personally thank all of you for your role in making these kinds of things a possibility. But I also feel gratitude for our faculty and staff who work daily in prison education, helping to make the lives of those who are now incarcerated better in anticipation of their release. I also feel gratitude for the hard work and efforts of those who are incarcerated, our students. They work hard every day to improve themselves. That's really the future of all this. And I feel special gratitude for our governor, who's already been recognized. But I want to thank Governor Bentley again for his unwavering support of prison education in this state. It is making a difference. His visibility makes a difference. So again, thank you, Governor, for that. And certainly last, but certainly not least, I feel enormous gratitude to God, from whom all good things come. Again, once again, thanks for your attendance, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
And I really believe that the love of reading is caught more than it's taught. And I believe that, and one of the things I would share with you, and those familiar with SACS, Dr. Heinrich, know that in recent years we've had this thing called a QEP, institutionalize a particular focus, and ours has been for 5 years to create a culture of reading at Troy University. Now, the reason that's important is because on average, high school seniors this year, Governor, will read one book. On average. Think about that. So if you can read, you can learn. I am satisfied that we can create within the Department of Corrections a culture of reading. Think about the impact that we can achieve and have if we can create in our students that love of reading and that love of learning, because if you can read, you can learn. It's my pleasure to introduce to you a gentleman that is bringing to the forefront the concept of the great books, and it's Dr. Kaylor. Dr. Kaylor, I know this sounds like a Troy day, but like you said, Dr. Heinrich, I have the lectern, right? And this is free, so you're not paying me to do anything. I'm just up here, and so I'll use these few minutes to talk a little bit about Troy. But it's a real honor for me to introduce to you a gentleman who is a scholar. He knows about books. He's authored 12, perhaps even more. But Governor, he is not only a man who understands books, but he understands health care, because he was a medic in the Army during the Vietnam War. And so he comes with a broad understanding of life, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kaylor.
President Dassinger, Chancellor Hawkins, Governor Bentley, Chancellor Heinrich, Senator Ward, Commissioner Dunn, honored guests, personnel, and fellow citizens at Tutwiler. Coming, as I do, originally from the horse country of Kentucky, and finding myself among the speakers gathered here in the football country of Alabama, I feel a little bit like a tired old nag trotting along behind real thoroughbreds, but with the best of intentions, to help run a good race. On this occasion, we all together are running a race in which correction and inclusion must win out over neglect and exclusion. To promote correction and inclusion at Tutwiler, Ingram State, Troy University, and the Alabama Humanities Foundation are working in partnership to provide a Great Books initiative in which students at Tutwiler have an opportunity to develop their reading and writing skills. At Troy University, in my world literature classes, I often ask, who among you talks with the dead? I was asking this question a long time before the film, The Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis and other actors came out and popularized the phrase, I see dead people. The initial responses coming from my Troy students range from one, dismissive rolling of the eyes, to a surprised look of reserved interest, or sometimes to a look of disgust and horror. I then remind the students of what Dante Alighieri showed so well in his Divine Comedy. Civilization is based upon a dialogue in which the dead speak to the living, and the living speak to the dead. Civilization also requires that the living enter into a conversation with the living. But cell phones and internet technology are making one-to-one conversation a rare occurrence, for better or worse, as time will tell. In libraries, we speak with both the living and the dead, and we hear their silent voices resounding from a distance of either space or time. And in doing so, we seek, all of us, correction and inclusion together. In the process, we refer to as civilization. And the greatness of a book can be defined by the power of the author to speak meaningfully to the process of civilization and to elicit critical and constructive thought. I've spent 40 years of my academic career in deep discussion with a Roman citizen who produced his greatest book, Consolation of Philosophy. During a year he spent in prison in Pavia just prior to his execution in 524 AD, 1,500 years ago. But his voice has rung continuously from his very dismal Italian prison cell, almost from the moment of his death. The books that Ingram State and Troy University and the Alabama Humanities Foundation are offering participants in the Great Books Initiative at Tutwiler, beginning next week, convey the always distant but still recognizable voices of more recent citizens who have spoken powerfully within and later beyond the fences of separation. Some are known, such as Angela Davis, Eldridge Cleaver, Asaka Sakur. Others are little known, but all speak with immediacy to the human experience of exclusion versus inclusion, and to neglect versus correction. They also speak meaningfully to the ongoing process we refer to as civilization, a process that must prevail both within and beyond the fences of separation if the process of civilization is to prevail. One goal of our reading initiative at Tutwiler is to allow these more recent voices to speak to our participating students, even as the students develop their own voices through discussions with the always distant but sometimes deceased authors. Another goal is to promote student writing about their own human experiences, with the hope that some of their voices may be heard beyond the fences of separation. If a selection of writings might be printed and presented to audiences, at least throughout Alabama. Both goals aim to promote correction and inclusion, and both goals aim to promote the process we call civilization. The first phase of the Great Books Initiative begins Tuesday, next week, in just a few days. If it is successful, and we anticipate that it will be successful because it's a worthy program, we plan to continue our work in Alabama's correctional facilities into the future. It is therefore with the best of intentions that we, all together, provide this program. And the program is an integral part of the race toward correction and inclusion that Alabama will win. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Heinrich, you let Dr. Hawkins kind of stack the deck, and I knew it was going to be stacked when I saw Dr. Kaylor come in wearing his Troy tie. It was a stacked deck. And Governor, it's always good to be back with you again, especially when we're not talking about the general fund for just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, this is a big occasion, not only for Tutwiler, but also the correction system in Alabama as a whole. Oftentimes we talk about reforming our correction system, the conversation automatically turns to sentencing reform or dealing with how the pardon and parole process works. But what is often overlooked, and troublingly so, is the education opportunities within the system itself. Statistics around the country will show you that if you give someone hope, if you give someone an opportunity to develop the potential that everyone has within their soul, they will develop a skill and be much more successful when they do leave our facilities. And that should be everyone's goal. If we truly care about not only public safety, but also loving and nurturing our neighbor, then we should all be behind promoting more educational opportunities and programs. If you think about it for a moment, it's a real basic idea. We value as a society, we always value the idea that we should educate our children. We should start at the earliest of age to educate our children, all the way up through higher education. We want to educate. Why shouldn't that same philosophy apply to other aspects of society? Because it works. We have to encourage our policymakers to do more to realize this. And you ladies back here have been recognized a couple of times. You are the face of success. You show why it does work. It is a proven method. If you don't give someone the opportunity, or at least the hope to have that chance when they leave these facilities, what kind of signal are you sending? Are you saying that we truly are a correction system? No, you're not, because what you're saying is good luck and goodbye. You are dooming someone to failure if you do not give them the opportunity to succeed on the outside. You are damning their souls to never having a chance to succeed the way they could. Prison education, educational opportunities within our correction system is beneficial. It's a winner. I think it was Dr. Heinrich who talked earlier about the recidivism rate, how greatly recidivism is reduced when educational opportunities are available. It works. It's shown to work. Having that job certificate, having that opportunity to know that when you leave here, there will be a job available. But one aspect that we constantly overlook in the education inside our facilities is that we fail to realize that a lot of people come in here to begin with were never given the basic educational opportunities that many of us sitting up here had. We had that opportunity to read, that opportunity to learn. Many people who grew up in an environment or in a situation that didn't lend itself to that opportunity. This again is another tool, another opportunity to help them bring about the corrections they need so that they can succeed and be a contributing member of society when they leave here. Technology makes that even easier. Whether it be online or other digital means, we have the opportunity now more than ever to get education, get learning tools from anywhere in the world. We can do it right here from a simple electronic device. That is truly amazing, but it also sets the bar higher for us as policymakers. It means we have to seize that opportunity, adequately funded, as the governor would argue, and I would too, adequately funded, make sure the resources are there so that we have a first-class system, second to none, and we can show everyone else in the world that Alabama means business when it comes to having a good correction system, having a system that's going to give everyone an opportunity regardless of where you've been in life. I think that's a statement that Alabama can be proud of. So thank you all for having me with you today. Thank you to the distinguished ladies and gentlemen up here. It is truly an honor to serve with this group and working to make our correction system better. So thank you very much for having me.
And Senator Ward talked about partnership, and it really carries me back to one of my favorite quotes from Alabama's most famous citizen, Helen Keller, who said, "Alone I can do so little, but together we can do so much." I think all the agencies working together with the right focus can achieve whatever it is we set our sights on. And so it's an exciting potential that we all have if we do it together. And at the cornerstone, or a cornerstone of this partnership as it relates to what we're talking about this morning, is the Department of Corrections. And it's a real pleasure for me to introduce to you Commissioner Jeff Dunn. But as he comes forward, I would say to Commissioner Dunn, not only thank you for your service to the people of Alabama, but particularly thank you for a distinguished career in the United States Air Force, from which he just retired.
Thank you all for being here, and good morning. Governor Bentley, sir, thank you for the privilege to serve with this group, to the honored members of our up here. I'm humbled to look out and think about the task before us in the Department of Corrections. But as we think about opening this e-learning center, I'd like to take just a very brief moment to go over a little bit of the progress that we've made that gets us here today. The progress that's being made at Tutwiler is a result of the hard work, the dedication, and the commitment of the people that you see here, of educators statewide, of the team from the Corrections Department, all with one goal in mind, and that's to improve the lives of the women who are within our custody. In April 2014, the department appointed Dr. Wendy Williams to be the Commissioner for Women's Services. And in that role, she provides executive oversight and operational management of all of our women inmates. In this facility, we installed a state-of-the-art surveillance system that has enhanced the personal safety and security of not only our inmates, but our staff. We recently have brought on board a PREA coordinator, a statewide PREA coordinator, to help us with the implementations of the new PREA standards. And here at Tutwiler, we have someone that's full-time to ensure PREA compliance, and we are moving towards an individual like that in every facility throughout the department. The department has also partnered with an organization called the Moss Group, a nationally recognized consulting firm with well over 25 years of experience in corrections. They are providing technical assistance and operational training so that we can move forward. I particularly want to commend Warden Barrett and his staff for the aggressive nature in which they have adopted these standards and have implemented the new operational atmosphere and practices that are present here at Tutwiler. We are working hard to improve the programming to ensure, as has been said, that we can prepare the ladies of Tutwiler to re-enter society. So that's some of the things that we've done. Today is the next step. I won't go on to talk about the value of education because that's already been said, but I think we're sending a powerful message to the rest of the state when educators, state leaders, correctional officials will partner together, as it's been said, to achieve something of this significance. I think that we are on the cusp of leading the way towards making dramatic improvements in the lives of the ladies of Tutwiler, and I think that will also spill over into other areas of our department. And more importantly, it's just simply the right thing to do, as has been alluded to. I want to say lastly one special thanks to my good friend Dr. Hank Dassinger, not only for the leadership he provides at Ingram and for the services that Ingram provides here at Tutwiler, but also for those that they provide for many of our men's facilities as well. He's a good friend, he's a great partner, and he is critical to our success as we move forward in this department. You know, Ingram doesn't just provide education. They provide something that's very much more important than education. He provides hope. Because as it's been mentioned, education is a key to the future for these inmates. And I'm confident that the opportunities that Hank and his team will offer, assisted by these education aides and the many that will follow in your stead at Tutwiler, will give these ladies hope. But more important, it gives them a pathway to rehabilitation. And even more important than that, it gives them a pathway to re-enter our communities as productive citizens with the skills and the education that they need to be successful. So I'm honored to be here, very thankful for what we've been able to achieve, and I look forward to this being the first step in many future successes. Thank you.
Are we ready? We're going to really cut this thing, all right? We ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
1, 2, cut.
Great comments, Governor.